Uncle's cat. So, because of the ballistic text to Hawaii the other day, loads and 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 loads of prepper videos are going to be made from a position of, at best, ignorance, and at worst, sensing that they can get people to watch. So I thought, yeah, I'll do some more videos because I think it's about time the real information got out there. So, what is the real information about nuclear war? Well, frankly, the survivable. You need three things. Do you know what they are? Oh, do you know what they are? So I just had toast. I'm going to have some coffee and I'll start burping at you. What three things you need? Distance from the impact and the fallout cloud. Time to let the radiation dissipate and break down naturally rather than break down inside your cellular system. Oh, what would be the third thing? Barrier. A barrier between you and the radiation. So, blah blah blah. You've got 15 minutes, what are you going to do? Well, you're an idiot, aren't you? Because if you've got 15 minutes and you have no idea what to do, and you're a prepper and you're watching this, you're a complete and absolute idiot. Nuclear war, nuclear explosion preps should be pretty much something all preppers have kind of thought about to some degree. I prepped for that, so there you go. You need info. Get a hard copy of this. There'll be a link. Actually, let me show you the link to prove there'll be a link. There'll be a link. It's to the original version of this, right? It's better than nothing. Get the most recent version you can. It's got full of information, tells you a whole bunch of information that you really need to read and you really need to think about before you've got 15 minutes left and society falls. So information is what you need to get, and one of the things you need to do is you need to be aware of the fact there's going to be a nuclear attack. Now you might not, like a dirty bomb or a limited scale nuclear war or even a full out nuclear war, you may have almost zero information, which is fair enough. Things happen. What do you do if you get caught out in the open? Lie down on the floor with your feet facing away from the blast area and have your head tucked like this and your eyes tightly shut. Try and have a barrier over you, preferably not a plastic barrier that will melt and drip on you, causing you hideous burns. The reason you want to face with your feet away from the blast zone is because you'll probably be moved, and it's much better to hit cars, dead people and trees with your feet than your head. You want to keep your eyes completely shut because the flash from the blast probably will last 5 to 15 seconds depending on the type of nuclear weapon that's used. Longer the flash, generally speaking, the more megatonnage, the more worse the bomb was. You also want to keep your mouth open and breathe through your mouth because of pressure gradients. Now if you're close enough to the bomb, it doesn't really matter, you're dead, right? If you're not too close to the bomb but not far enough away, you'll die horribly. So it's going to be a bit of a crapshoot. What I would do is I'd recommend this is if you cannot get away from if you cannot get away 2 to 3 miles away from the probable blast point in time and get into a shelter of some description after that, you're better off sheltering in place and praying. I believe in Hiroshima, and probably Nagasaki, but one of the two in 1945, people survived in a bank right under ground zero. Now, the bank was pretty strong, and as soon as the blast had finished, they ran the heck out of the city, and they were fine. Whereas other people were standing around the street corners or in wooden buildings were blown to pieces and irradiated, in some cases just evaporated. They were lucky ones. The unlucky ones had their eyeballs melted and the skin was sloughing off. Not a great scenario. So try not to let that happen to you. If you're in a modern urban environment, you might want to consider, if you're above the 10th floor, staying in place, being away from the window on the blast side, making a temporary shelter of some description, which would include as much paper and fluid as possible between you and the external area that's going to get irradiated. Don't forget, if you're on a high-rise building, you want to actually put a barrier on the floor as well as the ceiling as far as you can. Even a small coffin-like construction that you can stay in for 48 hours will improve your chances of survival. You want to shelter in a barrier for about 14 days. That's the typical response you'll get from most people. That's absolute nonsense. If you happen to be at home and you're actually able to shelter in place for 3 months, going outside after 2 weeks, just to do specific tasks, which we'll get into. So you need to have fresh water storage, you need to have food stored, right? Because after the blast, anything that's been radioactive will be radioactive, and you don't want to eat it, or drink it, or breathe it, or touch it, okay? Typically they claim that people with radiation poisoning are actually radioactive to the people handling them particularly. Don't believe that at all. In a nuclear war, if people are having symptoms early on, you want to get them out of the way. You don't want to be near them, right? They're going to be internally radioactive, which will go external. And that happens post-death as well as before death. Now, the other thing you might want to do is not use an elevator, okay? Elevators, if you're getting trapped in an elevator, even in a small-scale dirty bomb, chances are you won't be found and rescued. Dirty bombs are kind of better because you'll probably get rescued. Dirty bombs are kind of worse because there'll probably be ground explosions, so there'll be a much more limited radiation zone, but the radiation will be much harsher there and for much longer. Yeah. Whereas nuclear war, what you're probably going to get is airborne mostly, except for on hardened nuclear targets like ICBM sites, so they'll probably get ground blast. Probably. They're going to be really dirty, and downwind from them is going to be really dirty. Okay. So you can't eat animals, you can't eat fish, you can't eat vegetables, and you can't drink water. Okay, so what are you going to do? Well, you're going to have adequate food stores, right? So the advice that most people have online that I see in prepping is have food for 3 to 6 months, which is absolute in this case. You're going to be very hungry because you have to really, really ration. What you're going to need is food probably for a year. You really shouldn't be gardening for a year. If you have above ground raised garden beds, double tap them down, nail them down and run off. If you're able to put soil in limited quantities in trash bags to use as part of your shelter design, do so. That's a great idea. If you have concrete breeze blocks to block windows on the affected side, that's a great idea. Stack books, stack papers, have boxes of books if you have, that's a good idea. Whatever you have, think about what you have and what you can actually put in place to protect your floor if you're on the ground floor, your sides and your ceiling if you're in a basement, and is the basement protected from flooding and sewage coming into it and gas exploding. All those things is what you want to be thinking about in the first 15 to 30 minutes of knowing that this is real, it's happening, it's going to happen. You have 60 minutes, in my opinion, as a golden hour to actually do stuff. Don't waste any time staring at CNN or trying to phone loved ones telling you you love them. If they don't know you love them, that's a bit sad, isn't it? That's a bit like, oh, by the way, I think I'll call you and tell you I love you because I'm about to die. You know what? A bit late, mate. Bit late. Tell them before you're going to die. Tell them over a nice meal and a brandy. Okay, so I just wanted to say that because that's what I wanted to say, is that it is survivable. If you are not in the actual blast zone, too close to it, get a book like this, read it, go to a TED Talk and watch the TED Talk on how to survive nuclear war. It's interesting. It is possible, and you might want to do something about it. You might want to get a load of plastic to try and make a pressure area inside your own ground shelter using cardboard and tins and toilet roll. I'm going to try and make one of them actually. I'm interested in trying that. We'll find out how that works. But what will be the effects afterwards? Well, winter. Winter is coming in a nuclear war. It's estimated, and this is science, right, and it's correlational and models, and I know a lot of people out there don't believe in science and don't believe in climate change models, because these models actually come from climate change models. If India and Pakistan fire about 100 between them, small scale, Hiroshima-sized tiny little bombs at each other, which is total rubbish because their bombs are bigger than that, the global temperature will drop by an average of 1.25 centigrade for an average of 5 to 7 years. That won't do too much damage, but it will do enough to harm food stocks in North America. It won't destroy them, but it won't be a good thing. So that's something you might want to take on board. Winters are going to be much further south and much more long and much more snowy in a limited exchange. Say Russia and the US fire a bunch of missiles at each other and then decide, you know, Trump and Putin say, oh, it was a mistake, we shouldn't have done it. Okay. Global temperature is going to drop by about -4 centigrade. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not converting this into Fahrenheit because only the Americans don't know what centigrade is and everybody else does, and you need to come up to speed on this. So -4 centigrade would really cause massive severe famine throughout the world. You'd have a winter that probably wouldn't end for 1 or 2 years. The effects of this drop is going to be again 5 to 7 years. That's the time scale on nuclear winter. A real big war where they go at it until they get tired. -8 centigrade. That would be a colossally difficult thing to survive. What you would need to do is have food in place for at least that period of time. So if you're going to prep for a nuclear war, you need to have food in place for about 10 years. Water in place for about 3 months minimum. Know how to treat water afterwards and how to collect water from a nuclear radiation point of view. All that stuff's in here. Right? Is an important thing. So that's what you might want to be thinking about. So what are we at now? Yeah, we're at far too long. So I'm going to do a second part to this, and the second part is going to cover some medical issues, because I think that's what's actually needed here, because there's a lot of people saying a lot of garbage, and let's throw some science at it. Let's science it, okay? Au revoir.
She's not a girl who misses much. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh yeah. She's well acquainted with the touch of the velvet hand, like a lizard on a window pane. The man in the crowd with the multicolored mirrors on his hobnail boots.